In the late 1960s, a dark shadow fell over the vibrant counterculture of California. At its center was a charismatic, manipulative figure named Charles Manson. His name would become synonymous with a series of brutal crimes that horrified the nation and marked the symbolic end of an era of peace and love. But who was Charles Manson, and how did he manage to gather a group of followers, his so-called family, and lead them down a path of unspeakable violence? Today, we are delving into the story of a man whose life sentence could erase the scars he left on America. Manson's early life was a blueprint for a future criminal. Born to a teenage mother, he spent his childhood in and out of reform schools and prisons for a variety of offenses, from petty theft to armed robbery. He was a product of a broken system, a boy who never truly had a stable home or a positive role model. By the time he was released from prison in 1967, at the height of the summer of love, he was a seasoned con artist. He drifted to San Francisco, a city teeming with young, disillusioned people looking for meaning and a sense of belonging. It was here that Manson's true, sinister talent emerged. He wasn't a musician of great skill, though he desperately wanted to be. He was a master manipulator. He preyed on the vulnerabilities of young runaways and drifters, offering them a place in his family. He used a cocktail of mind-altering drugs, repetitive lectures, and a distorted blend of pop culture and fringe philosophies to bend them to his will. He presented himself as a guru, a Christ-like figure with profound insights. To his followers, he wasn't just a leader. He was their entire world. They surrendered their identities, their money, and ultimately, their morality to him. Manson preached a bizarre, apocalyptic prophecy he called Helter Skelter. He twisted the lyrics of the Beatles' White Album, convincing his family that the songs were a secret message about an impending, racially charged war. He believed this war would destroy society, and that after the chaos, he and his followers would emerge from the desert to rule the new world. But as 1969 rolled on, Manson grew impatient. The war wasn't happening. So, he decided he had to show Blackie how to do it. He would orchestrate a series of gruesome murders and frame the Black Panthers, hoping to ignite the very race war he prophesied. The plan was set into motion on the night of August 8, 1969. Manson ordered 4 of his most loyal followers, Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Linda Kasabian, to go to a house at 10,050 Cello Drive in Beverly Hills. He told them to destroy everyone inside as gruesomely as they could. The house was rented by film director Roman Polanski and his wife, the 8.5 months pregnant actress Sharon Tate. That night, Polanski was away, but Tate was home with 3 friends: celebrity hairstylist Jay Sebring, coffee heiress Abigail Folger, and her boyfriend, Wojciech Frykowski. Also killed was Stephen Parent, a young man who was just visiting the property's caretaker. The scene that awaited law enforcement the next morning was one of pure horror. The victims had been subjected to unimaginable brutality, and the word pig was scrawled in blood on the front door. The city of Los Angeles was gripped by fear. No one knew who was responsible or why. The randomness of the attack was terrifying. The very next night, Manson joined his followers for another horrific outing. This time, they targeted the home of supermarket executive Tate-LaBianca and his wife, Rosemary, in the Los Feliz neighborhood. Manson himself entered the house and tied up the couple before leaving his followers to carry out the murders. Again, the scene was horrific, with messages like Helter Skelter and Rise written in the victim's blood on the walls and refrigerator. For months, the 2 sets of murders remained unconnected and unsolved. The LAPD was under immense pressure, but initially pursued different, incorrect leads. The breakthrough came from an unlikely source. Susan Atkins, who had been arrested on an unrelated charge, started bragging to a cellmate about her involvement in the Tate murders. This confession was the key that unlocked the entire case. Investigators began to piece together the puzzle, connecting the Cello Drive massacre with the LaBianca murders and tracing it all back to a strange commune living in the desert, led by Charles Manson. The trial that followed was a media circus. Manson and his female co-defendants Atkins, Krenwinkel, and Leslie Van Houten turned the courtroom into a theater of the bizarre. They sang, laughed, and carved X's into their foreheads, a gesture Manson initiated. They showed no remorse, often shouting in unison and disrupting the proceedings. Despite the chaos, prosecutor Vincent Bugliosi masterfully laid out the case. He argued that even though Manson hadn't physically killed anyone at the Tate residence, his Helter Skelter doctrine and direct orders made him just as guilty, if not more so. The key testimony came from Linda Kasabian, who had acted as the lookout and driver. She was granted immunity in exchange for her testimony, which provided a chilling first-hand account of Manson's control and the events of those 2 nights. In 1971, Manson and his followers were found guilty of murder and conspiracy to commit murder. They were all sentenced to death. However, their sentences were commuted to life in prison a year later when California temporarily abolished the death penalty. Charles Manson would spend the rest of his life behind bars, a living symbol of evil. He was denied parole a dozen times, never showing any remorse for his actions and continuing to manipulate and fascinate from his prison cell. He died in 2017 at the age of 83, leaving behind a legacy of terror and a dark chapter in American history. The Manson family crimes were more than just a series of murders. They were a cultural shockwave. They shattered the illusion of the peace and love movement of the 60s, exposing a dark, violent underbelly. The story of Charles Manson serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers of charismatic leaders who prey on the vulnerable and how easily a search for belonging can be twisted into a path of destruction. It's a testament to the fact that evil can wear a beguiling mask and its influence can linger long after the crimes have been committed. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into historical events that shaped our world. See you next time.